Hey, welcome everyone to my chess stream here on Wednesday. It's October 25th. We're doing the Weird Wednesday stream, which means that I'm trying to play unusual lines, unusual openings, unusual variations in the chess openings, whatever you want to call it. Um, so if I play an unusual opening, that's cool. If you want to play an unusual opening instead of me, you can go ahead and be the first one to play something weird in the opening, like f4. The King's Gambits, whatever you want. But I try to keep it like within the realms of reasonable chess. I'm not playing like absurd moves. The weirdest move I play is probably like one knight h6 against e4. But to play stuff like e4, king e2, I mean it's pretty much stupid. So I want to play unusual openings that have some sense and we can learn something from. The caption at the bottom, what's up with it? The number and the time control isn't there. Yeah, thank you. Fly-by-night operation as always. Funny, because you were just asking me what the max time control was. My 8 key is sticking, that's the problem. I pressed the key, but it didn't cooperate. Anyway, guys, welcome to my stream. International Master William Paschall, streaming from Budapest. We had a viewer tournament yesterday. World Loser took it down. Today we're going to be accepting anything between 5+3 and 8+3. Mastermind, Melody Marathon, Ananas, Arsenal Fan, Richie, IK Corwin, Archie, and Aldisto. I want to thank you for the macros for the double subscription for 2 months. We had 2 subscriptions yesterday too. Macros just now subscribed. All you guys who are subscribers, Melody Marathon, Ananas. Are you a subscriber? You are, aren't you? Arsenal Fan, Richie, IK Corwin, and Aldisto. Actually, I don't think Ananas is a subscriber, but he's here all the time. He's not a subscriber, but it's still cool. We'll play him last. No, we're going to play the subscribers first. So, Melody Marathon first in the list. Don't let me forget to play unusual openings. You played World Loser in some blitz games yesterday. So he played you first. You got him warmed up. All right, I gotta move my mouse away, the cursor away from my knight f3 move, which I'm playing so much lately. Let's start with e4 and see what we can get on move 2 or move 3 here as far as unusual openings. French, it's hard to play something unusual. Melody Marathon. Okay, that's gonna make my life a little difficult. All right, let's play Chigorin variation here, Queen e2. Unusual, but not completely out of the realm of playability. Melody Marathon transferring to a kind of Sicilian. I guess most likely like g3 is the safest move, playing it like a big clamp Sicilian. I have played f4 on occasion. Another question is like, is this knight on d4 even a threat? So I probably shouldn't even have to play c3 technically. It's just basically transitioning to a kind of King's Indian attack. He's strong. I don't know. He's really strong. He's been playing better lately, but he plays too fast and he makes absurd blunders. Especially when he has like a winning position and more time. We're talking about World Loser. Talking about him while he's not here. Bob is here. You got the breakfast going? It's not even breakfast time where you are, is it? It's too early for breakfast. So, kind of flexible Petrosian, what they call, well, I've heard it described as a Petrosian setup for black with knight going to e7. That's who I've, heard this attributed to. Knight f3 would land us in a kind of King's Indian attack, but I don't really want to block my f-pawn. It's playable to play knight f3, of course. I'm thinking here, obviously, c3, f4, knight f3. These are my main candidate moves. What kind of setup do we want to play? It would be nice to get in d4 somehow with the help of knight f3, but it's too much control of black, you know, having control of d4. Maple syrup. Maple syrup is kind of hard to come by here in Europe. Not really common. Got to go to a specialty store to pick that up. Should I push f4 or just settle for c3? Maybe d3 even. The big clamp Sicilian. With queen on e2, I'm not sure if the queen is good on e2 or not in this big clamp. I would imagine it would commonly go there, but it could have some deficiencies as well. I'm not a huge fan of the closed Sicilian in general, but it's really hard to come up with something unusual against the French. Like, what am I going to do? Play b3 on move 2? Excuse me, guys. I need a glass of water. My throat sounds a little better than yesterday. I had made a couple videos yesterday. I was really kind of hoarse during the I still sound a little hoarse. What's up with that? I don't think I'm sick or anything. Aldisto just subscribed. Awesome. It's like a resubscription for Aldisto. All right. My throat feels okay, but I do sound a little off. Too many videos yesterday. In Mexico, it's labeled as American food. Taco Bell. Of course it is. Even Susan Polgar would figure that out. Make a quote about it or something. A little inside joke about yesterday's tournament quote. Alright, now d6. Not everyone likes to play d5. I personally also am not crazy about playing d5 in the Sicilian. It's a French type of structure. I know he started with a with the French, but it became a Sicilian on move 2. e6 Sicilian. I'm just playing around with the idea of putting my knight on h3, but I really most likely should not do that. Chalupa. Yeah, I remember the Taco Bell Chalupa commercials about 15 years ago. Alright, is a chalupa a real thing, or is it just something made up by Taco Bell? That was one thing I always wondered. I had a game almost identical to this. Play a pawn sack. Alexander Ivanov did this to me in almost identical position. I was terrified. When I was playing the white side of an English, he got in the same kind of formation, sacked a pawn, and I was like, oh my god. It's like a brilliant pawn sacrifice. It's probably not that clear. But when you're playing a strong player and someone does this to you, you're like, oh, they're a genius, I'm going to lose. It's a typical positional pawn sacrifice for this kind of structure. It's a real thing, says Las Hazior. I was Chalupa Cabra. I thought maybe it was one of those things that Taco Bell just made up. Sacking the pawn back. Now the question is, you know, do we keep going down this revolving door, basically, with declining each other's pawn sacrifices, or should we take the pawns at some point? This was my main line. Takes knight g6, knight f5. Not sure I should take it, but I'm running out of time. The other move is like queen h5, maybe. You see, Laz Haziar Googled it. That's cheating, man. You have to just know your Mexican food. Bobby Fischer apparently liked Mexican food. He was often accessible here in Budapest at the the Mexican restaurant, one of the Mexican restaurants in Budapest. There's a few. Well, this was years ago. This was like the better part of 20 years ago. If you wanted to meet Fischer, you had to go to the Mexican restaurant. My friend was a Mexican IM, and I guess he knew some of the guys that worked in the restaurants, so they would call him up when like Fischer, they're like, Fischer's here, he's in the restaurant. Then my friend would like run over there and try to hang out with Fischer. This was the first line I looked at, and I thought, it's probably not so great for me. Now, do we do a walk with the king? I don't think we can, because if I do the walk with the king, he's taking on f4. And I'm not really getting much. At least this way I have a strong white squared bishop for whatever it's worth. I'm going to end up down a pawn with the strong white squared bishop. Maybe a couple pawns at the rate it's going. I don't know. Not really, right? He has to take on f4. I mean, you could play knight h4 if you want to. I don't think it's that great. He lived with the Polgars. Yeah, right. I mean, he was actually, for someone who claimed he was like anti-Semitic or whatever, he had no problems with the Polgars. You know, he was very inconsistent in his racism. He was actually on pretty good terms with the Polgars, and but he didn't live with them. No, I don't think he could live with anybody, man. He was freaking crazy. Nobody could live with him, let's say. I'm a little concerned about this position, but we might be able to patch it together. Melody Marathon, just not only strong but fast too. He's now up to 23-34. It's not that many games, right? Brand new account. He's gaining time all the time. Well, I think that like the majority of Hungarians who like immigrated to the US are Jewish, you know. But not all of them. Of course, Judith still lives in Hungary. The other two have immigrated. But others often, you know, just don't go for religious freedom, but, you know, maybe just economic freedom. We just celebrated the Hungarian Revolution here, where the government, you know, not the government, but the Soviets were overthrown in '56. A lot of people left Hungary back then. Now what am I going to do here? Bishop h3. I've got to get my knight back in the game. This move I'm not sure about. Fisher was crazy. You know, he would be perfectly fine 1 minute and then he'd start raving about stuff like the next, from what I heard. You just ignore him for like 5 minutes till he stops, and then he would just reset back to like normal. When he would go on one of his like rampages, he would just slowly, like, if you ignored him, he would stop, like a typical troll. That's what I heard, though. I wasn't there firsthand. I wish I had got to meet him, though. All right. Do I have time for A4? Slowing down the B5, B4. He could have tried that last move. Looks a little risky, obviously, with the diagonal open. Beacons and movements in storage stole his whole life savings. There was that guy who was here. It's funny because there was a beacons moving in storage in my town when I was a kid. I didn't know it was like coast to coast. I thought it was like a local company. That's funny, but yeah, like he put his life savings in the storage compartment. What did he have? Like furniture and magazines and books in there? I mean, you know, it's not very smart to put like valuables in one of those savings containers. I mean, one of those container things, like they're really drafty, like you can get like dampness. I mean, fish things just get destroyed in those savings containers, and that was like a long time ago. In days they weren't like air conditioned, or yeah, that was his big issue. Bishop F6, strong move. So I can't be allowing any of that business. Hopefully we can hold into a draw. Maybe not. I think I've got to take this. Technical ending. Melody Marathon instantly refuted my Grandmasterly pawn sacrifice in the opening, using virtually no time. I had another game with the player I've played quite a bit here. Trying to remember his name now. Same exact type of pawn sacrifice. Ooh, this is pretty unpleasant. Yeah. I think Melody Marathon said they have a 1600 FIDE rating. Like, yeah, dude. More like 2100. How do you have 1600 FIDE and you're like 2300 in Blitz? What kind of FIDE rating is that? You got it when like you were 5 years old and you never played another tournament for the last 6 years or something? That's what it looks like, because this guy is just too good. He's making me grovel for a draw. Alright guys, Weird Wednesday, we're playing unusual openings. Every game is going to be like the maximum length. This is like a 20-minute game almost. 8 plus 3 out to only 27 moves. We both used all the time here. And my king is like trapped. I think this was a blunder by me, the last move. Can't afford to do that. Pretty unpleasant situation, obviously. Alright, luckily he accepted my draw. Maybe I'm winning my pawn back here, but I was probably lost before. Now I'm equal. Okay. But before it was really bad. Nice game. Alright, Mastermind Ananas, Arsenal fan. Who's the next subscriber? Ananas is not a subscriber yet, though he will be. He doesn't know it. Arsenal fan Richie is the next subscriber up. King b6 looks pretty uncomfortable for white. Well, he is dropping a pawn back, you know, so I was okay there. At the end, I'd still think black is like 0.1 better, but we can manage. All right, Rich, what's up? Richie plays the French too, so I can't play e4 anymore. All right. What am I going to play if I can't play e4? I played the Dutch. I mean, I played the bird's defense against you before, I think. If I play knight c3, the Dunst opening. Opposite color bishops with rooks is like a nightmare position. By the way, like the secret to winning those positions is usually sacking the exchange. I've had several games like that where either I was up a pawn or my opponent was up a pawn in rook and opposite color bishops, and all the time it's always like you tie them down till their like bishop is defensive, and then you sack your rook for it and get like a second pawn and good king position and stuff like that. So that's one really good winning mechanism, usually, the exchange sack. But I didn't see, like, you know, any situation where Melody Marathon could have done, you know, an exchange sack per se. Okay, so bishop g5 is the main move here. We could play a black Mardimer gambit. Yeah, let's try it. Delayed black Mardimer. I rarely play any kind of gambit, you know, early pawn gambits in the opening. Richie could actually transpose to the French, like d takes e, bishop g5, e6. We're transposing to the French defense. But no, I wanted to play the black Mardimer, so he should play knight takes, by the way. I mean, maybe he didn't think about it, but not a move you encounter every time. Usually it's always good to take with a piece. This isn't really a black Mardimer. This gambit is not really sound for me. Knight takes e4. You want to trade pieces there. Now it is a standard black Mardimer. I guess white does even like weird stuff like queen takes f3 here. The comp says your peak advantage was +1. Wow, I thought it could even be worse. I definitely thought it could be more like in the +2 territory, possibly, but I wasn't sure. Man, I don't know. I sacked the pawn. Maybe I should have not played. Maybe I should have not played pawn takes f4, or just done something like queen h5. Probably better not to sack the pawn at all, for me. All right, let's see. Well, Graham Burgess in his book Beating the Anti-Queen's Gambit, what was it? Queen's Gambit for Attacking Player or something like that, an old book from the 90s. I remember he recommended e6 setup against the black Mardimer, but I always thought this was a weird recommendation because it's kind of passive for black to play e6 against the black Mardimer. I mean, okay, yeah, it's solid, but like it was like Queen's Gambit for the attacking player. It's not like an attacking system, but what are you gonna do? It's all right. I don't know. I never played the black Mardimer with white. If I play bishop g5, they just play bishop e7. That's probably like a main line, though. What, bishop g5? You could even do bishop b4, I guess. Though I think bishop e7 is much more safe. Yeah, he thought it was more of an advantage than the one pawn I sacked, but apparently I was okay as far as not being hopelessly lost last game. Intuitive pawn sacrifice, but I guess I just didn't have enough development to really justify it. Played too early. Alright, where are we here? Did I? Oh, you played bishop e7, shit. Am I supposed to try to castle queenside? I mean, I would think like I should castle kingside. Then he'll get a c5 type of break, though. I think they're supposed to get in c5. c5 pretty quickly. This is probably a bad move. I don't know. I'm thinking about castling queenside. It feels like a Scandinavian. With this move, I'm like trying to discourage c5. But it's not really aggressive enough for white. There's no magic pill, though. Like castles, queen e2. Keeping my options open for castling. This is not a very aggressive square for the bishop. I was afraid of knight to d5 trading pieces, but that's possibly too early for black. Could castle kingside, definitely. Anyway, guys, thanks to all of you who subscribed. Tomorrow night I have the subscriber stream, so if you've got an interesting game you want to analyze together, come by tomorrow night, 7 p.m. You can message me the game like here early if you want to, or just put it in a study. That's the easiest way. Put it in a study here on lichess, and it can be your games, like a Grandmaster game, anything you find interesting. We can spend some time and analyze the games for subscribers tomorrow. Nothing big in the chess world going on except what, the Chigorin Memorial. What is that? Has anybody been following that tournament? Is that a round robin or a Swiss? I haven't even followed. Chigorin Memorial must be a round robin, right? Or not? I don't know how long that tradition has been going on. It sounds like, you know, they make it sound like something that's been going on for 30 years, but actually, I think it's a relatively, well, at least it wasn't publicized till recent years. I tried to go to Chess Bomb, but their website was down. Maybe FIDE took them out, finally. Unfortunately, trading pieces isn't really what I want to do here, but this isn't such a bad situation. I might be able to play c4 profitably. Chigorin Memorial, I can't remember. Is that Swiss or round robin? And Chigorin is long dead. It's a Swiss, says Laz Hazior. Did you Google that? He's not castling, I've noticed. Now it feels like a queen's gambit where I castled queenside or something. You know, you might even say that c4 is a weakening of my king position. It's definitely not a no-brainer. This is where I like jump out of my chair in the tournament game where somebody does this like bishop exchange that I wasn't expecting. But in Arsenal's defense, it's not unreasonable to give up the bishop here. I would prefer not to give it up with black probably, but he is trading pieces. Yeah, definitely a playable move. Kind of defensive and not really super ambitious, but not out of the question bad. It's a matter of taste, I guess. I'm even thinking about taking with the pawn, but objectively it's pretty anti-positional. So now all we've got is 2 Bs and some better control of the center. Chess Pro, how long didn't you play for? Yeah, I mean, it's with the internet, it's possible to be like a master and have like a 1600 rating. I mean, it's definitely possible. This would have been impossible 20 years ago, but if you're playing constantly online. Alright, so we got the bishop pair, we've got better control of the center. I could also try to tie him up by like putting a bishop on c6 or something, though it's slightly unnatural. Pawn storm, anyone? h4. Problem is he's got that bishop. The bishop is just mining the h4 g5 square, so I can't just play h4 g4. He'll take my pawn. It's pretty much a slight problem. We can induce weaknesses in his king side. This move is pure. I don't know what to do. I can play h4, but how do I play g4, h4, and g5 without dropping that pawn? Maybe I don't need to. Maybe I can play, yeah, h4 next. Simply knight f6. Well, that's another possibility. Queen h4. Eventually, you're going to have to move one of your pawns around your king. I hope. Yeah, I expected g6. Although there I was going to play h4 with some chances, I guess. Arsenal fan didn't want to deal with that, so he just didn't move a pawn. 2 years without playing. Yeah, I guess if you're young enough, you can improve quite a bit in 2 years, playing a lot online. I don't think it's that easy, though. I mean, now g6. All right. Bishop h6. Does that even help me or make things worse? You know, really, probably a stupid move. My plan was queen h3, I think. Let's stick with the plan. Bishop h6 just forcing his rook to e8. Although there I might be able to play tricks based on bishop e5, winning the exchange or something. Here I want to zone in on f7. Maybe get a rook there, or h4, h5. But if I can play rook f1 and then just like g4. This is largely because I think he traded the bishop on f3. I mean, that bishop on b7 would have messed with me a lot. Now he's going to have to give up the exchange. And we definitely have a slight superiority after that. I mean, he has a pawn for the exchange, but it's not quite enough compensation. I need to defend my pawn on d4. Okay, he was not really paying attention that I was threatening the rook, I think. Or maybe he voluntarily sacked the exchange this way, I don't know. But now it's queen's off the board. It's a very tactical position with good winning chances. Should be winning. I mean, just requiring good technique. There are certain positions that might be much more drawable than this, but the pawns are so fluid here. It's not like he can lock the position. You know, there are certain structures where it's really locked. It might be difficult to make progress, but I don't think this is one of them. It's still not easy to directly break through. Could take a lot of work. I think king f6 is an inaccuracy because he really wants his knight on that square. He should have played king f7 and then tried to do like a knight f6, knight e4 transfer. I'm not sure my rook h3 was a big deal though. Okay, this is not a forced win. I mean, it's gonna take work. I don't want those pawns to get out of control. So eventually try to open a second line for the rooks with b4 maybe. Not an easy win, but a position I should be able to win, I would think. Now his pawn structure getting pretty chopped up. Interesting. Just take with the pawn. It's not that clear though. This is an interesting defense, c5, but I have d5. Unfortunately, d5 is killing. The other ways that I take on c5 might actually be okay for him. So it was kind of a crafty try, but unfortunately this move looks like it just wins by force. But I think we were making progress in that position. Black has to basically find a way to do absolutely nothing in that ending, and it's not easy to do absolutely nothing. Should I have taken with the pawn there? We're gonna grab this a pawn, and that's pretty fast. Knight's not very good at stopping a pawns or rook pawns of any form. We've also got the d pawn. I should have played d6 there. Hello. All right, man. I want to see the opening move. Bishop takes f3. The advantage here. Wow, that's crazy, dude. Computer thinks I'm better, but I'm like clearly better, and I'm a pawn down after queen takes f3. Jeez, that's amazing. Pawn down, and I have like a +1 advantage. I'm gonna play the Black Mar on a regular basis, but Richie should just take with the knight on e4 there. Okay, IK Core 1. We've got a lot of challengers today from the subscribers, so you guys who are guests might not guarantee to get to play. I realize that if I play just weak players, I can really inflate my rating. Well, Bob, if you can teach me how to find the weak players and just play them, because I'm thinking of doing that, but I've got to find like open tournaments where they're just like pensioners playing and stuff like that. I guess what I've got to do is find someone who's overrated and then ask them, how did you get so overrated, you know? I played a lot of strong tournaments last year. The first Saturday Grandmaster tournament and Zalakarosh Open was like a disaster, where everybody I played was like 20 or 10 or 15 years younger than me. I've got to find like weak open tournaments to play. That's the secret to gaining rating points. Yeah, but Rich, you have to take with the knight on e4. That's a very important distinction there. Then it's like totally probably nothing for white. There's a lot of theory on that, the regular Black Mar though. It's probably pretty playable for white. And something that you will see on the club level at a regular basis, probably. So good to know. But as I said, the e6 line that you played is actually one that's been recommended. Okay. We could just play the black side of the black Mardimer, but I have a friend who I think has played bishop g4 before here. Ananas, thanks for subscribing, man. Awesome. See, I said he was going to subscribe. I'm psychic. Ananas joins the challengers list in second place. Thank you guys, seriously, for subscribing. So Ananas, Aldisto, Mule Skinner, Bob, World Loser Ayeste. We'll try to get in as many challenges as I can. I just got another challenge. Vampire Princess is challenging me to 6. The Vampire Princess from North Korea. Vampire Princess, please re-challenge me to 8+3 or even 5+3, something with an increment. But I can't accept non-increment challenges. But honestly, Vampire Princess, I think I might have too many challenges to play anymore. So unless you can really hang out for like an hour and a half, I wouldn't, you know, get your hopes up of accepting a challenge. So it's a long waiting list. You might not want to challenge me, and there's no guarantee you're going to get to play. What does white get for the pawn? Well, I mean, the computer says I'm +1, man, so I think it knows what it's talking about. At the point where I played c4, I was already like +0.6. I have total control of the center, Rich. White just dominates the center there. I mean, you have to really respect like control of e4, d4, e5, and d5. I'm owning the center, dude. I mean, that's compensation for a pawn right there. You have to play with respect for the center of the board. If you don't control the center, it's hard to maneuver, do anything. That's why, well, obviously you have to play knight takes e4 on move 3. But anyway, it should be equal at least. Like in the main lines of Black Mardimer, I think it's comparable to like the Smith-Mora or something like that, honestly. Here, let's try something combative. If I was playing a GM, I'd probably play e6 there, but we're going to try to keep the pieces on the board here, play a little more aggressively. But I think that, Rich, important is the question about bishop takes f3. Your bishop is a very powerful piece in the long diagonal, and I think that maybe objectively it's better not to trade it. You're controlling a lot of key squares, like f3 I was able to use later on, and all the white squares I could attack you because of the control of f3 that your bishop on b7 would have kept under control. And your bishop is actually one of the only pieces that's actually controlling the center there. Now, speaking of controlling the center, the bishop on b7 is doing a decent job. So, but in any case, in that move order, you know, you don't have to really allow the Black Mardimer. What's the best way to play the Black Mardimer against the French? If I play e4 d5, if I play e4 e6 d4 d5, I should play knight c3. But then if you take, you know, you don't have to take. You can play the winnower. You can't force the Black Mardimer against the French, basically. Huh? How about g6, bishop b2, knight e5? No, I just should guard this, you know, challenge the long diagonal with bishop b7, bishop f6. I still think the position is okay for black, but you're kind of on the defensive after bishop takes f3. I was a little surprised though how highly the computer thought white was better though. I didn't think it would be that much. Like a full pawn advantage positionally. This 95 move wasn't really great for white. Probably go back to e3 here. Put the bishop on the long diagonal. It's still probably equal for white. I don't think that white is necessarily worse here. So guys, we're doing a subscriber stream tomorrow night at 7 p.m. European time. CEST, European Summer Time, I should say. And then Friday, another Blitz classical stream in the morning. Sunday is a simul. Vampire Princess, thanks for re-challenging. I've got another challenge there, 3+1. I can't do 3+1. Feel free to re-challenge me to anything between 5+3 and 8+3. It doesn't have to be 8+3. 5+3, 5+5, 6+3, 6+4, whatever you want. Anything between like 5 minutes and 8 minutes with an increment between 3 and 5 seconds. I like to play, so I have time to talk about the game while we're playing. But I don't think we should have any more challenges because we've got I've got like an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes, and if the games are long, these 8-minute games can add up to 15 minutes apiece. So we normally play like 10 games per stream. Chess Pro 02. I do not know this person, Alexei Komisarov. Probably a young player, from, you know, any young like Russian players. I don't know. I haven't played. Well, I know like one or two, but I mean, young players I don't really know anymore. Too old. No, but I would guess if they're playing on lichess, it's more likely to be a young player than an old player. I don't know Komisarov, kind of a weird name. Not your typical name. Is that his real name? Possible. Let's see. Just some FIDE Master. Unfortunately, it's too easy to get the FIDE Master title. They took away the requirement where you had to like maintain your rating over 2300. When I got the FIDE Master title back in like 1995, I should have got it in 93. You had to like have your FIDE rating stay over 2300 for like 27 games. And that was like, in those days, if you had to have a FIDE rating over 2300 for 27 games, I considered those FIDE Masters to be pretty solid players, dude. But now where like the rule is, you only have to just reach 2300. There are tons of people who like just peak, you know, at 2300 and drop back down to like 2250 or something. So it's basically a ploy for FIDE to get more money because they charge fees for titles. FIDE Master just, actually all the titles have gotten easier over the years, but at least with IM and GM, like you have to make norms and stuff. They didn't like drastically make the requirements easier, but I think that FIDE Master is, it used to be a serious title, but now it's kind of too easy to attain. Castle's queenside, that's an aggressive move. This pawn can be attacked by maybe queen there at some point. Also watching for knight b5. No, that's what I'm saying, Outlet. I mean, FIDE Master meant something when you had to have a certain amount of games over 2300, but the US Chess Federation messed me up because I had it in 93 and I had 27 games, but I didn't realize I had to apply for the title. So despite having more than 27 games over 2300, I thought like the US Chess Federation would automatically apply for my FIDE Master title. They didn't, and I went back under to like 2250 later on, so I had to achieve 2300 and then like get 27 games over 2300 to get the FM title in like 95, and by that time I was like over 2400 USCF. I was pretty strong, so FIDE Master wasn't always a joke title. If you if you've played with FIDE masters who got their titles like pre-1995, they were legitimate players, legitimate masters. I know a lot of strong FIDE masters who were basically almost IM level, or IM level, that just never traveled. The other thing with titles is that it used to be that you had to play round robin tournaments to make IM and GM norms, and now you don't. You know, this is another thing that's really changed. Okay, we're going to oppose the long diagonal. They're better than 99 of all players. That's true. Most FM pure amateurs and have not had enough time to reach the AM title. There are old school players that I know who are really strong, who are FIDE masters. But for the most part, in modern times, it's become kind of a weak title. I know I can name at least like 3 American players who were like 2400 FIDE, who never got the IM title. They're like really strong FMs. Like they never left the United States, and there weren't enough round robin tournaments to play in those days. Now you don't need round robin tournaments. You can just make the IM and GM norms in Swiss systems. You know, the hardest thing was finding round robin tournaments to play, and now it's like so much easier. I wish I had more time and money to travel to open tournaments. I could probably still make GM if I really put in a concerted effort. But responsibilities. Queen G3 here, good move. He's putting pressure on that D6 pawn, and I feel a little bit uncomfortable. Weird. Possibility here of B5. There's no really good way to defend my D6 pawn. This is pissing me off. Damn. Just make a routine move. It's just a little bit too slow. It might have been better to play Queen B8, actually. White's starting to get some serious threats, slowly. Originally, I was thinking of sacking a pawn with B5. One track mind. Yeah, now he's got serious threats on me. Yeah, I kind of like White's position now. The 1500 is playing really well. But we get a lot of people like that. Rating doesn't mean anything here. Of course, you have to play well for the whole game. I wonder if G6 is absurd. Just keeps moving pawns. F5. I've got no threats no matter what I do. It's so fluid for White. We'll try some kind of primitive threat. A3, bishop takes C3. He's got B takes, or rather D takes C. And I have nothing. Just play A3, you have no other move. But it's good. Which is better after A3? Impressive opening, actually. I didn't play a weird opening this time. You guys are supposed to tell me to play a weird opening. What am I doing? Alright. Weird Wednesday. I'm supposed to play weird openings. Alright. Mistaken problem there. I was supposed to play not normal opening. You guys didn't... Did somebody say something? Camel culture. Yeah, exactly. I sometimes just like revert to my normal program if you don't remind me. Every time I play with white, it's like a French or something, and we're getting tons of closed positions. I'm just gonna have to play weird opening on move 1. B3. Double fianchetto. Try to do like a hippopotamus. One of the most dangerous animals on earth. So normally I would play what, like E3 here, maybe F4. Could try to do a double fianchetto. But I like keeping it in the English attack. Queen's Indian attack. Reverse Nimzo without knight F3. Yeah, this is a super safe move. It's obviously not very ambitious. Bishop D7. Now we turned into we can turn it into a Nimzo Larsen attack. Ananas playing fast. Standard Nimzo Larsen attack. Got good control of E5. There was a famous game, Nimzovich versus Rubinstein. I think this exact position. Nimzovich won a brilliant like positional game. Actually an attacking game. Wonder if I should play like Queen E2 first. Taking unprovoked. Like D3, knight D4 might be a mistake. But taking on C6 unprovoked, I'm not that crazy about doing it. I could consider A4, but I think it weakens my queen side. This is a weird move, rook E8. I think Ananas is playing a little too fast. He's turning into world loser. Alright. Good position, but then moving too fast. Rook E8 actually takes away both bishop E8 and knight E8 type of maneuvers. And I don't think pushing E5 is a realistic plan for black. So this move looks wrong. We've got very good control of E5. I'm not going to let you, play E5 easily. B5 or knight D7 instead of rook E8. Outlet is like, Ananas calls herself a patzer, but has an online rating of 2,000. It's all relative. We're all we're all Potzers compared to Magnus Carlsen. We're all just holding Phil Ivey's money. Which noteworthy GM games do you use to teach your students? Oh, God. Well, that's kind of going back to the other day when someone claimed that Magnus Carlsen memorized 10,000 games. I teach more based on concepts, you know, than particular games. I don't have like that many. There are some, you know, some Grandmaster games that I teach people with. But you know what's interesting? Like Mark Dvoretsky, who was regarded as like the best trainer, his system wasn't about like games. You know, Mark had this massive card catalog of positions, which he accumulated over the career as a trainer. And I think that like tells you probably, you know, the most important thing. So positions, not necessarily games. Positions and concepts are important. You know, like complete games. I recommend studying books, you know, Grandmaster complete games, but I don't really often spiel about a lot of like complete games. It's more about concepts and ideas. This situation now is a little awkward because of my f4 pawn. I would want to play e4. I guess I have to play knight e5 here, gaining a tempo on his bishop on c6. He did play b5 and allowed the bishop back to b7. Nimzovich versus Rubinstein was totally different. There was like the rook was still on f8, and then Nimzovich was white, and Rubinstein retreated his bishop back to e8, I think, and then traded the knight on e5 off with knight d7. Slightly different. It's basically a Queen's Indian with colors reversed. This bishop on the long diagonal, though, it is kind of menacing. I had a game against Josh Friedel very, very early in his career when he wasn't even a FIDE master yet. And I had a hard time because of this bishop on the long diagonal, constantly being worried about that thing opening up. I eventually swindled the young Friedel somehow, but that bishop has potential. Rook f3, stonewall attack. Judith Polgar style. Might not be a bad idea. We've got a limited amount of time. Alright. So, who wins a game between two intuitive players? Whoever was lucky that day. What can you say, man? I don't know. I'm actually baiting that d pawn forward. I'm not sure what will happen, but this is a known idea in the, you know, in the Nimzo, in the very similar variation of the Nimzo. I'm making allusions to the game Judith Polgar, Kramnik versus Judith Polgar. There's also the option of rook g3. Might even be stronger than rook h3. There's nothing direct on h3. Alright, well, if he does d4, I do e4. If he does c4, we have other plans. We'll see what happens here. Black's going to have to do something, though, or he'll get annihilated. Almost have rook takes g7 ideas. Almost. I think we have some strong attacking themes. Someone mentioned knight takes f7. The d4. I was threatening knight g4 there. That did look pretty nasty. I agree with this d4. c4, knight g4 might have been... That might have been interesting. The question is, if c4, did I have to take time to play bishop d4? And if that's the case, then maybe c4 was an option as well. I really think I can't allow him to have long diagonal, access to the d5 square. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to blot out my own bishop on b2, but I think that we gain more than we lose here. There's the Bobby Fischer theme running through the conversation today, but the quote of, like, Fischer that said, you've got to give squares to get squares, I think relevant here. Knight g4 now. Complicated at best. Wow, there's some crazy stuff that could go on knight g4. Georgi Kashishvili's favorite idea, like b4, but all hell would break loose along the c file. I mean, b4 would be a nice positional break, but maybe someday. It looks like we're going to have to settle for some kind of, ordinary move. Knight g4. Knight g4, knight takes g4, queen takes g4. f5. That is just devastating. Wonder if I put my rook on the wrong square, seriously. Was this all just a sham, this g3? Should I have put my rook on h3? Like my intuition said long ago. Not necessarily. Speaking of intuition, tempting to play rook f1 here. Sack a pawn. Okay, knight f3, knight h5. Knight f3, knight h5, seriously. That's a problem. All right. The intuitive pawn sacrifice. Larry Christensen calls it the student body attack. You just have enough pieces in one area that it just feels like it should work. Too many pieces in one sector. C4 would have been stronger earlier in the game. For who? That's a kind of hard question to answer. Yeah, now we've got, looks like we have some attacking chances, Houston. Knight d5 tricks, anybody? Not really. Bishop c1 we're thinking about. The Kashishvili attack with b4 is definitely on the menu. But knight f3 was the simple plan. Now it's about ops color bishops. We get in the Georgie break with b4, and that could undermine his whole center and the long diagonal. But I'm not sure if it's going to work tactically or not. We can definitely pursue other ideas as well. b4 is obviously risky because it would open up the c file for black. So b4. He also has this in-between move, knight h5. Queen c7 looks like a good move. He's just keeping his options open. I've got some ideas. But we don't need b4 necessarily. We have rook takes f6. But it's not like that easy actually. Knight h3. I wish I had more time, honestly, to play better moves here, but we're now in a materially equal position with some initiative. No forced win. I was thinking about e5, but that's very, very dangerous for me. We'll just retreat. Now black might be lost. Maybe not. He's got that move. Oh no, you're kidding me. You can do that? There's no mate for me? Alright, man. Your world loser technique is paying off. You've got a minute left. He had g6 if I play rook takes c5. I just started to freak out. I'm sure I missed the win, but the time pressure making life very, very difficult. Yeah, now it's anything but clear. I'm probably not even better anymore. My darn bishop. This is a total fail. I had a great game. That's another fantastic move. Like the first mistake he's made. He probably should have played rook f8, keeping the tension there. Now we're probably winning. Another ops color bishops and rooks. This time we're on the plus side. Two pawns up. Alright, man, interesting game. I was curious about the opening. Reached that position where I sacked a pawn with knight e5. The second knight e5. Was it here where I sacked a pawn with rook f1? Computer says c3 for me, wow. Now I'm like winning according to the engine. Knight f3, but then it changes its mind. Alright, never mind. Queen c7, knight g5, h6. I want to play rook takes f6. What else can I do? e5. It's not that easy, so there's no forced win. e5 is best. Now it says rook takes f6, g takes f6, h takes g5, rook takes g5. Good game, man. Anyway, we are not winning by force. Yule Skinner. Spiriki says, how are I today? How am I today? I'm good. We had a viewer tournament last night. I'm still recovering from that. A lot of chess. I'm doing like 2 streams back to back basically. So, but I enjoy it. Yule Skinner, I've played 123 games against. Let's try something interesting. e4, e5. Spinal Tap, what's up, man? Rook takes f6 was winning. Which point? At which point? I didn't see. So we're supposed to be playing unusual openings today. Let's see. Okay, what does Yule Skinner play against the Petrov? I was hoping to find an interesting Petrov. Cool. Okay, so there's this weird move now. Mamedyarov has even played like knight takes e4, but this move has apparently been explored quite a bit by some specialists. Stockfish says this is as good as d6. He's like, Spinal Tap, can you recommend an endgame book? Spinal Tap is... he's upstaging me. Queen e7. Rook takes f6 on move 25. Well, that's kind of rude, dude. Because I'm playing a game. It's hard to read every single comment when you're playing a game. I don't know if you ever tried it, but it's hard to do. There was another comment where someone said rook takes f6, AJK Tom, and I was reading that one, not yours, actually, but that's alright. So here, I can play knight c6. Alright guys, we're streaming for another hour and 5 minutes. I'm definitely going to get to play the rest of the challenges, it looks like. We've got 4, Bob, Ayeste, Archie, and Vampire Princess. But I don't think that we should get any more challenges. I don't know if this is the way I'm supposed to do this or not. Now I forgot. I blundered. I'm supposed to play queen takes e4. Oh my god. Blunder. So now I don't have enough compensation at this stage, but we're gonna go with it. I'm supposed to play queen takes e4. That's what I get for playing an opening I don't know enough. I forgot I'm supposed to play that. Okay, let's see. If I take, he takes. If I take and go back, it's probably playable, but not very good for me. But what else am I going to do? This looks kind of dubious for black. Maybe it's not so bad, though. It looks kind of bad. Knight f6, is that any better? Not really. Well, maybe. Knight f6, rook e1, bishop e6. Yeah, this may be better, in fact. Alright. I'm supposed to take... What the heck? I'm supposed to take on e4 with check, man. Queen takes e4, check. Black is okay. Stupid. Spinal Tap, do you play the Petrov? My position is highly dubious. Probably gonna lose. Do you seriously play the Petrov, man, or just the Caro-Kann? The master of the solid openings. You're not into the he's not into the Petrov. I can't believe I didn't play Queen takes e4 check. Move order aberration. Rook e1, bishop e6, f4, g6, g4. Not liking that too much. We're going to be sacrificing a piece. You see, now f4 probably wins a piece by force, as far as my calculations go. Bishop g5 just like a natural move, but it doesn't really do anything, you know. So if you play f4, I play g6, and you play g4, that should be 1-0. There will be some weaknesses in white's position, but you're winning a piece. I mean, I can't believe that's okay for black. Now we have slightly worse position that's playable. Maybe even clearly worse, but at least I'm not down anything. Yeah, man, I mean, f4 is just winning. f4, g4. You're going to have to open up your king side a little bit, but I can't imagine black gets any kind of compensation. Not enough compensation, anyway. It's very important that when your opponent makes a weird move in the opening, you have to take your time, and bad moves become good moves if they're left unpunished. That's just fundamental. You know, now I'm kind of like groveling my way to slightly worse here. I still don't really like my position. I mean, he's got a beautiful position, perfect pawn structure, you know, well-placed pieces, but it might fizzle out completely. Bob's like, I knew a guy named Rudy that sold ecstasy when I lived in LA. You knew him too. One of the more random comments. I had a neighbor named Rudy. He lived down in the corner. Alright, man. Bishop e7. White has a beautiful position, but no material to show for it. I want to thank Stefan for a donation. We had the PayPal donation. I'm going to get the Steam Labs up and working so we can... Wow, my king won't move. So we can thank you guys with a running reminder of who's made donations to the stream one of these days. But until then, I'll just Oh, we have c5. Oh no. c5. Bishop b5. Oh no. c5, bishop b5. Maybe I can play like queen d6 there. God, this is dodgy. Undoubling my pawn, or attempting to undouble my pawn. He traded queens quickly. That's kind of surprising. Bishop b5. I think Bill Skinner should take some time. Unless you have another forced win, like unless you have a forced win line that you're calculating, I mean, you should take time there. Okay, Mule Skinner isn't my fastest opponent, so maybe he doesn't want to get in time pressure. But certain situations, he's not calculating. He didn't really go for f4. He didn't go for this tactical line with maybe bishop b5. So I think we see like a weak point in Mule Skinner's play, like refusal to calculate sharp variations. You know, too hesitant in maybe calculating sharp positions. Maybe you're shying away from complicated lines too much. Okay, pawn takes pawn is ugly because of knight takes. Bishop takes a2. Looks like a good way to like get my bishop trapped somehow with like c4. Would that be? There's knight e5, also complicated. Not a fun position. Through my horrifying blunder in the opening. I always thought it would be cool if someone who owned a store to give like a 5% discount if they streamed the opening at the store. Who are you hinting at? Always play c5. I haven't seen Yellow Dragoon in a while, that's true. I think he's in school. He's down the corner buying some ecstasy. Rook a d1 from Rudy. I was going to play bishop g4, knight e5, bishop takes d1. But that's kind of nasty, actually. Bishop g4, knight e5, he just hangs his rook. Knight takes d7 check. And then, like, all my stuff is dropping. Do I have a line like pawn takes pawn, rook d8, knight takes e6, pawn takes e6? It's still horrible for me. Can't take on d4. Okay, his only real threat is knight e5. I guess I could theoretically even play bishop d6. Unpinning myself. God, this is awkward. What a weird move to play in this position. We're down to 3.5 minutes against 2. I don't like my game. Couldn't find a good move, so I bailed out for this unpinning move, unpinning my bishop from e7 to the bishop on g5. I didn't like bishop g4. I didn't like knight e5 in my face. So if d takes c5, bishop takes c5, knight e5 didn't seem that bad. I don't like grabbing the pawn on a2. It's like process of elimination. The easiest way to calculate by process of elimination. Maybe not the most efficient, but what isn't bad, we will play it. Find a move that isn't bad and play it. But Mule Skinner, I was criticizing earlier. He played quickly in the positions where he had a very strong move, or what looked like a very strong move. You know, so maybe that's a weak point in his game that he should improve. Do you know which books your chess games have been featured as examples? Well, not too many, like, that I can recall, you know, as what I would call like concrete examples. I have lots of games quoted, you know, in books, but typically it's like just about you know, an opening or something like that. Bishop g4. We could get in trouble here really quickly. Ambulance, stop. God, I hate the ambulances here. Drives me freaking crazy. They're too loud. There's too many of them. Mule Skinner, very aesthetic play. I did not get out of the out of the danger here yet. Even d5 might be a problem, but not really. Man, what do I do? Can I do c6? He's gonna have a forced win there, or not. God, c6 is ugly. I don't know what to play. This taking on c5 is always an issue. I don't like taking on d4. I was about to lose on time. I would just try to blockade and hold on, although Mule Skinner has played brilliantly on a positional level in this game. He didn't calculate any tactics. He just plays like Rubinstein, strategically beautiful chess. It's hard to believe his score is 11.5 against 111.5. He is so strong. So this recapture might have been a mistake. I thought rook takes looks better. Actually, it's good though. There's nothing wrong with his recapture. I don't know why I like the other way better, but it's okay to take with the pawn too. I'm in a lot of trouble still. Yeah, maybe pawn takes is even stronger. I should have played like g5. Major mistake for black there, not to play g5. Hope he's not listening to the stream. That's why. It's a pretty difficult position for me. Jeez. Almost lost on time. Just hanging on by a thread. It's an awful position for black. I don't even know if I want to win that pawn with knight b3, knight takes a5. My pieces get so out of play. This is still bad for black. I mean, I'm lucky to be alive here. And I still don't like my position. It's pretty awful. My king isn't safe. His pawn majority is so strong. Practically forced me to do it. I have to put my king on where? I'm not getting mated. I'm close to getting mated though. Pretty ugly situation. My knight is nice, huh? Man, Mule Skinner. Killing his bishop. Can I make progress? Now his bishop is gone. Probably we're winning. This is kind of unfair. Well, how's my technique here? Not the best. Should round up that H pawn, I guess. All right, man. What an effort. You were killing me. We just hung in there by a thread, but I have to play queen takes e4. I mean, this is ridiculous. I did b takes c, so it was a catastrophe. Bob, Ayesta, and then the other two non-subscriber challenges. Man, that was ugly. All right, weird openings with white. Bob, what are you going to play against e4? Don't play the French defense, okay? I was almost getting mated at one point. We should play like the wing gambit or something fun. I don't really know the wing gambit, which makes it more fun. But it was a good defensive game, a good defensive effort for me from a almost impossible position. I guess I'm supposed to take on c5. We'll give him one more chance to have the pawn. He doesn't want it. Okay. Now he could take on e4 actually. He did not want that either. So it's like a cross between the c3 Sicilian and the... it feels like a weird c3 Sicilian now. This is not really critical though. Bob should probably take the gambit pawn. I'm just trying to adjust to my surroundings here. I don't ever play the wing gambit in an offhand blitz game here or there. But this is even a weird game by those standards. The wing gambit declined. Not something I really know what I'm supposed to do. Thinking about just bishop b5 check, I guess, developing quickly. And then we can think about what? Queen e2, knight f4, and getting crushed. The other possibility I thought about was like g3, bishop g2, maybe not bad. Queen e2. Queen e2 is actually playable. Am I asking for trouble with this move? We have an idea. A couple of ideas. You can guess one of them. I'm sort of telegraphing e6. Just like a Spielman. Rudolf Spielman. Rudy. Rudy. No relation to Spielman. Mule Skinner, an excellent positional effort. He probably could have put me away a couple times with some improvised tactics, but he was playing like the positional genius style instead. e6, stopping e6, and knight f4 was a trap too. Knight f4. I take on d7, play queen e4. If he takes on g2, his knight is trapped. Now knight f4, it's still a waste of time, I guess. I've got a new challenge, but I don't guarantee that King Chaser is always like last here. King Chaser, I can't promise you're going to get to play today. I've got to stop at 12:30, so we'll try to get in those other 3 games guaranteed. King Chaser is always like the last challenger. Solid approach by Bob, though. Bob makes me think of Twin Peaks. Bishop e7. It's actually a Seinfeld reference, but you're making me think of other TV shows, Bob. We need to get our pieces out. Even knight c3 is actually not so bad, is it? Knight c3. Just jettisoning my structure altogether for the rest of my life. To get rid of that strong knight on d5, though, it's practically worth it. It's such a monster, you know. Let's get rid of it. Double pawns that control the center. Typical in the Alekhine's defense. Sometimes other openings as well. The Nimzovich Sicilian with 2 knight f6, for example, looks a little like this. All right, I've got, what, 3 more challenges? Archie, Ayesta, Archie, and Vampire Princess. Yeah, I mean, there's no way King Chaser is going to get a game unless those guys bail. I'm sorry, King Chaser. I'd love to play you, but I've got a video recording to do after the stream. Is that Bob? That's the real Bob. Poor Mule Skinner played a great game last game, but I got a chance to show how tough I am to kill. When asked to describe my style, my friend David Vigorito said that was his definitive analysis. His defining words are, "I'm hard to kill." You know, that's probably as good a description of my style as anything. Just like tough, resourceful. I'm a good defender. Now b6, keeping the structure. We go to the file, Bob. We've got some pressure. Control of the center, kids. This is similar to the game with Arsenal fan Richie in the sense that, you know, okay, Richie was up a pawn. Here, Bob has just got a better structure. But structure and material, there is another factor, control of the center. So we've got to measure all these things when evaluating a position. Now he's threatening bishop takes b5, so we could play c4. We can just take and then oh no, we're just winning. Oh man, that's kind of harsh. just taken queen b5, and there's no... I almost didn't see it. See, I'm not looking for tactics. There's just this little voice inside my head that's like trapped in my brain that once in a while it's like the tactical alert button. It's just like, you're winning a piece. You're winning a piece. It's like subconsciously coming to me, but I'm not at all like planning on winning pieces. It's just this little, like, years of playing chess, there's this little warning mechanism that tells me, like, the minute before I make my move, I'm like, wait a minute, there's something there. Queen b5, and I win a piece. Win a piece or win the queen for some odd material. A lucky bird is high on drugs. It's called experience. Intuition, subconscious, calculation, maybe. You know, if I made this reference before, but if you think about the way like Mikhail Tal could play blitz when he was drunk, I mean, and calculate, a lot of it is like, maybe he's so good tactically he was like literally calculating subconsciously or something, you know. I mean, to be able to play tactically when you're totally trashed, it's like you gotta you gotta have like a secondary computer in your brain or something. So Bob is toast. Alright, Bob, thank you for the game. We've got Ayesta, who's really tough, and then Vampire. Now, the only way the King Chaser gets to play is if these games are extra fast. I don't expect an easy game from Ayesta, who's been really tough lately. Unusual openings. What are we gonna do? Not take too much time, but against Ayeste, the c3. It only takes a pawn 5 moves to queen. The voice. You're winning a piece. Yeah. There's like this little voice. It's called a microphone in my ear, you know. No. Nothing in there. But it's... I just say that because it's amazing how often I literally see the moves, like, just as I'm about to make my move. You know, these, like, one-move tactics that most more tactical style players would see, like, instantaneously. Alright, I played knight f3. I'm going to play, what, the London system here? Well, the London system is so passé, you know. Let's try to just play g3 and maybe something creative with a King's Indian with c3. However, against c6, I can only draw... Once I had a game with Joel Benjamin where I played like d4, he played d5, and I played bishop f4. And Joel played c6, and I played c3. He said when I played c3, he was like physically ill. It's kind of like how I feel here. You know, I played c3, he's playing c6. It's like, how, if nobody is gonna like take the initiative, how is anybody gonna win? You know, when I play this, I'm hoping for something aggressive like a reverse King's Indian, but it's like we've got this sort of line of demarcation across the board, and no one's gonna cross it. You know, it's hard. It's hard to get an advantage or play against the Slav type of setup. And I played c3, whereas normally I would play c4 in this sort of setup. So I just got a slow game. I'm just gonna have to play passively a little bit. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze, guys. Trying to stop it. Pawn takes f3 is something to consider. With the e-file open here, I would think this is reasonable. Let's try it. We'll get a little bit more central control. We'll turn it into a Trompowsky with colors reversed. It's a GF Trompowsky. This is like he could play d4 maybe or something weird like that. So I'm gonna play d3 before playing f4. Kasparov has a voice in his head that says you're winning a brilliancy. Alright guys, tomorrow is a subscriber stream, 7 p.m. CEST. I'd like to thank you guys who resubscribed. Also Ananas for a new subscription. We had another new subscription, 2 yesterday. This is awesome. So in the subscriber stream, you can like bring games to analyze, or we'll just play Blitz and Classical Chess tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central European summertime. Alright. We're playing f4. And then we're going to set up the knight d2, knight f3 type of thing. But my only problem with this setup is that white's a little bit, or black if colors are reversed, obviously, you're a little bit short of pawn breaks, you know, so again we run into a situation where it can be hard to do anything. This is basically a line against the Trompowsky. d4, knight f6, bishop g5, g6. By transposition. I had a game against somebody recently where I was like playing against the formation I'm playing now, and then they did something awkward on the queen side. They made some strange pawn moves. Okay, I asked the breaks with e5. It's not really like the traditional way to play here, but I guess it makes some sense, you know. Well, we're just left in a symmetrical position with the bishop pair and a very, very modest advantage for white, probably. Bishops don't really like symmetrical structures. They like imbalance. So here he's basically equal. But we do get probably a tempo with rook e1. That was so symmetrical. He offered me a draw. Alright, Ayeste. We've got more challenges coming up. Vampire Princess, King Chaser. I'm going to take your draw, man. I think that white's a tiny, tiny, tiny bit better. But in the interest of giving the other players a chance to play, I'm going to go on to the next game. Vampire Princess, King Chaser. Those would be like the maximum I can play, probably. Unless one of the games is extremely short. So boring position. I'm gonna just, you know, accept the draw there, and continue here against Vampire Princess. So weird openings, the theme of the day today. But I don't like to get too weird. Let's play a3. Every time I try to play e4, I get the French defense. Actually, there was a Sicilian last time. So a3, d6. It's not a very, you know, relevant response, but it's okay for black. I mean, I like d5 or e5, but it's okay. You can play e5 next. No problem. So how do I play to make a3 not like an irrelevancy here in this type of position? That's the real question. Against King's Indian type of formations, it does become relatively useless at times. Yeah, get angry at Corn. What is Corn Hub? It's a stupid name. B4. Looks like black has some sort of idea here with like c6. Trying to lever my queen side. I've never played this opponent. We know they're not really from North Korea. Alright. c6 though kind of threatens to play a5, and that's why I played e3 rather than the routine bishop b2. Against the Polish opening, I like c6 as a defense. Have played that myself. Now queen c7, not particularly, you know, focused move. We can just pretty much continue with development. You know, I guess you could even do like some weird speckled hen type of thing with d4 at some point later on. C4, bishop b2, knight f3. All these moves are reasonable for white, I guess. But the plan has been to play bishop b2. I'm meeting a5 with b5 in some instances. Although here I could just play c4, let him take on let her take on b4. What's up, Camel Culture? All right, man. You must depart. Don't clutch any camels. All right. Get in trouble. Knight d7. Developing pieces, old Indian style. All right, let's just develop our own pieces. Pizzas. The plan is rook g1 and g4. No, just kidding. That's like, yeah. Smoking joints with Emery Tate. You might employ something like rook g1 and g4, but yeah, not normally a good plan. Could be done though. You know, it's funny, you see it a lot in the queen, like Sicilian, doing rook b8, b5, b4. Why not do it like with white? I mean, if you look at the games of a crazy player like Pavel Blatny, you'll probably see this kind of insanity sometimes. E5 now. It's just turning into kind of a normal, what do you call this anyway? Queen's Indian attack? Polish opening. For a surprise name. It's just a normal Polish opening. Polish opening against the old Indian. I'm not going to be able to play all these challenges. I think the last game, realistically, will be against King Chaser. Aldisto just challenged me, though. Dude, Aldisto, how long have you been here? Did you lose a challenge? Weren't you here for a while? Aldisto's a subscriber, so I've got to play him. We'll have to play him. I'm thankful that he's challenged me to 5-5, though, because it's not as long as A+3. Why did... Aldisto, did you just challenge me for the first time, or were you challenging me before? The problem with d4 is that, you know, they close it up with e4. I don't really want that to happen necessarily. So we'll play like this. I played a lot of St. George with black, e4, a6, believe it or not, and I like it. You know, it's very effective because people don't respect it. They think that you're dissing them. They lose their concentration and get crushed. But that's basically what I'm playing now. St. George reversed. Black could have played d5. This is also like a Sicilian reversed. Actually, a line that Arsenal fan plays. It's a transposition to that, right? Like e4, c5, knight f3. Well, actually, I haven't played d3, which would be the normal, you know, c3, bishop e2 line like you play, Arsenal fan. Black could play a c3 Sicilian type of d5, delayed d5 here. So, I don't know. We'll castle. There was g4. If I was really like in an insane mood, I could do this, probably. g4 wing pawn. I think it's actually playable for white, g4. Crazy gambit. But slowly the moment of truth. Queen b3, played in the spirit of the St. George, or just d3. Alright, I don't really want to put my queen on b3, and I don't want to play d4, allow the position to get entirely locked with e4. So we're going to play this, fluid development, knight d2. It reminds me of the Roy Lopez with colors reversed. Now she played a5. You could make a case that playing on my side of the board. But anyway, black seems solid here. Vampire Princess 1800. This is classical. Whoa, sorry, I didn't mean to click on your profile. 1400 blitz, 1200 bullet. Not a fast player. But 1800 classical is respectable. Got like 15 games though. Much more blitzing. Yeah, what's up next? We're just trying for fluid development. What else can I do? Like rook fc1 maybe? Bishop c3, queen b2, put pressure on the long diagonal. Or maybe not rook fc1, maybe a hedgehog type of formation with rook fe1. Still a lot of play ahead, all the pieces on the board. It's just a really slow game to develop. Oh man, that fish is awesome. I love that emote. h6. An unoffensive move. I think it slightly weakens black's king side. Now somehow putting my rook on fc1 looks a little misplaced. I'll try to play in the center. I could play e4 myself at some point. It's getting more and more likely that I should probably do that. Then it could get like obscenely locked after something like c5 though. What else was I thinking? Bishop c3, it's pretty slow. Man, maybe I should play e4. I don't want to play d4 because black can play e4. But now, I've got time for at least one more game. But yeah, King Chaser changed his challenge. Thank you for that. Yeah, now I'll definitely have time for those two. I may not be able to play Arthur. I promised King Chaser, and he was first there. And then Aldisto challenged me. I was surprised. Why did I play Bishop f1? This is a bad move. It's not terrible bad, but it wasn't what I intended. I got distracted. I meant to play a different move. Bishop f1 is a good move in general. I'd like to play like g3. Maybe the bishop can come out to h3. King's Indian attack later on. But it wasn't necessary to play it here. Arsenal fan, I recommend playing with the board. You know, when you're playing training games or something like a long game. If you want to improve your over-the-board chess, probably not a bad idea. Alright, now rook takes a1. I think all it does is like liquidate stuff. You know, I don't think that's... It's tough. I don't know. I don't know. If I do bishop takes, they can play c5. You know, this way I'm threatening maybe rook a7 for whatever that's worth. Probably nothing. I'm afraid that black can lock the position up. Playing well. Black passive, but solid. Wow, this was totally unexpected. I really thought they were going to play c5 or rook a8. And now d5. The first sharp move that black has played. Damn, that was not what I expected. H6 like kind of defends against knight g5, and it almost seems relevant now. Position is, how would we define this position actually? Do I take, open up black's bishops for them? Very risky. This is risky to do this, but the position was getting kind of symmetrical and boring. I may have gone over the line here. Maybe black is better now. I took a real risk giving up my center to imbalance the position. Now they're playing 1200 in bullet, yeah. You know, the average 1200 in bullet. Yeah, that wins by force. Almost wins by force. It's pretty freaking close. This is no 1200. From North Korea, 1200 from North Korea. Oh, man. That's quite a calculation there. Rook takes e7, queen takes d2, queen takes d3, take. Man. All right. I'm scared, but I'm surprised by the last move. This player is dangerously good for their rating. It was also weird how passively they played and then got aggressive. Oh, I just hung a piece. Oh, good. Well, that's about it for today, I guess. I'm done. Just hung a piece. But anyway, I was in a weird position here. Yeah, I resign. All right, next game we'll play Aldisto and King Chaser. Aldisto 5+5. Strong 1200 bullet player there. From North Korea. I didn't have to hang a piece, but the position was getting a little bit unpleasant. Aldisto with h4. Kamran Shirazi's favorite move. Photon man. What are you talking about? Photon man, I didn't understand. H3, H4, H5. Can we play like a Caro-Kann Gurgenidze type of thing here? What should I do? This is kind of weird though. He's done knight c3. I almost want to play like e5. I've never really studied how to play against this. H4. I know that H5 is supposed to be the best move. I guess we'll just play bishop G7 and decide later. Well spoken, Arsenal fan. So now we're focusing on the old F7 square. What if I were to play, let's see, knight to C6, knight F3? I really don't know what the best setup is against this. I mean, it seems like I should play E6 and try to just nullify the bishop on C4. I'm going to play one last game against King Chaser. Dropped a piece last game. But I'm always like having trouble concentrating when it's an account that seems weird. You know, in the back of my mind, it's always like maybe it's a computer. So as soon as I start thinking that someone might be a computer, my game like goes down to like I don't know how to move the pieces level again. If I lack confidence, I can't play. D6, C6. As soon as I start becoming suspicious of someone, it's just impossible for me to play a normal game. D4, D6, C6, D6. This looks like a kind of dangerous setup. Queen F3 can still come in. Bishop G5 is the other problem. Alright, man, I don't know what to do. I don't really like my position at all. White seems to have gotten the better of this. I have to look this up. Chess Doctor says, if I think it's an engine user, I just want to play better. Yeah, well, that's a different philosophy. But I don't really want to accept it, you know. I mean, I don't know. I just have zero chance against engine users, so it seems like, for me, I lose motivation. I mean, in the old days, like 20 years ago, when I could actually draw or beat computers, I might have had the same attitude, but now it's like, I wonder if Queen D7 is absurd here. It's not absurd. I mean, actually, to play like a kind of deformed hippo. Dangerous, though. It's going to be hard to get my queen side out. But I feel like the knight on G8 keeps F6 protected. Offering a draw is like peace treaty. Yeah. Yeah, it is. A6. You know, wait till he plays F4, then we'll play F6, basically. That's the plan. My position is definitely non-standard. I mean, putting the queen on D7. But we're getting creative. It's a normal hippo, except for the fact that I can't put the knight on D7. And I played H5. Now B6. I lost against Ayeste in one of my simul's pretty badly in a hippo like this, but it wasn't as deformed as this hippo. I like this h4. I have to learn how to play against h4. I don't play the modern that often, so I never really, like, you know, play it. If you played it all the time like it was your main repertoire, you would occasionally run into h4, and it would be worth it to, like, spend your time analyzing the variations. But I always considered h4 like a kind of Shirazi blitz line that probably doesn't deserve, you know, a lot of analysis. But maybe if I were to start playing the opening on a really regular basis, I would have to maybe study it. This looks really good for white. Just space advantage. There is the issue of where to put his king, though. You know, that's not easy to decide. He's opened himself up on both sides with a4 and h4. So guys, subscriber stream tomorrow night, 7 p.m. CEST. F3. Maybe he's planning king F2. We are seriously at a shortage of squares for my knight on B8, so I think, you know, barring queen C8, knight D7, I think we're gonna put this guy on C6 and see where it can go from there. D5 is not really a problem. I'm not sure I like it, but we can live with it. I have either knight e5 or knight d8. Knight d8 probably more safe. The beauty of the hippo is the complexity of the position. That's how I beat Alexander Onishuk. You know, when you have all the pieces on the board and it's like 40 move time control, and you know, anything can happen. Your kings are like in weird places. You know, it's a really good system. It's easy to confuse white. Oftentimes white will like overextend themselves. This is not technically a hippo because of the weird h5, knight c6, but the idea is the same. I could have played knight e5, but this way I have more options. I can probably close it up. We can take with the knight on e6, possibly. We can also take with the pawn and put the knight on f7. So I don't know which is better. Taking with the pawn allows knight f4, and then it's awkward to defend g6. So I guess the question sort of answers itself. Our bishops are pretty good. You can play bishop d5, for example. But I'm going to get his dark-scored bishop in that line. Yeah, see, he doesn't like that. So, the biggest question in this position is the position of the kings. Degenerated to a blitz game. Is this a good move? Well, that was my plan. I guess we'll stick with the plan. I hope it works tactically. Well, he took right away. I thought it might be better to take on d5 first. How does he have so much more time, man? He thought forever on that move, and he still has a lot more time than me. We're kind of winning the battle for the center. Wow. Do we win a piece? Like, it will never be that simple, will it? With d4, there'll always be some tricks. Getting out of the pin, skewering me with like bishop e6. Though in this version, maybe that's like a blunder straight up. I think he just blundered with bishop d3. Put your bishops on the long diagonals and take things. That was our philosophy. Yeah, we're good. Got serious threats of knight b4. Good to have that extra bishop to take on c3. Elimination of defense. Category tactic problem. King Chaser, last game for today. Sorry I can't get to any more challenges, guys. That's it. I've got a video to record. 5+5. We're going to cancel out this challenge. Sorry, Butterbrat. If King Chaser's not here, then I'm going to regret canceling that last challenge. But really, it's time to end the stream. He is here. I think that Aldisto had, instead of taking on e6, he should have taken on d5 first and then taken on e6, and then he's probably better. All right. So weird openings today. I'm playing knight h6. This is my patented self-created system. It's like a cross between the so-called hippopotamus defense and the. Now he played knight c3. That's an annoying move. That's very solid for white. I'm playing the Caro-Kann with knight h6 now. Not really known to be a good opening. The other option, taking on e4, is not really any better. But I don't think bishop d3 is dangerous. So, you know, this way we're now like transposing into some kind of normal Gurgenidze Caro-Kann type of thing. He should. What should he do? Well, that's the question. I don't know. Should you take on h6 or not with white? This looks like a pretty standard Gurgenidze. f6, giving the square, you know, for a possible knight f7. Now it's symmetrical. Pretty boring. Solid for white. This exchange on f6. Yeah, Arsenal fan. What? You liked your bishop c4 line? Oh yeah, you played that. How was it on move 2? e4, knight h6, bishop c4. Well, bishop e7 is off the radar. We have king f7 or king d7 or queen e7. I mean, queen e7 clearly looks like the normal response in the situation, though I, you know, Facing a lower rated player, I don't really want to trade queens. The other options don't look particularly great. On the positive side, we've equalized, it looks like. On the negative side, it's very symmetrical, so pretty tough to play for a win. You could make an argument that White's knight is poorly placed on c3. Fortunately, bishop f5 doesn't work. And I don't really know where I want to put my king. I feel like I'm playing chess 960 here. I guess we put the king on f7. The knight has better things to do. We got to get the king off the open file. There may be a real idea behind this move. Aside from just generally getting my king off the open file, we have a tactical justification to this. It's like an exchange French or Petrov or something. Are you sure you don't mean the what? Never lose. Right. Alright, bishop f5, bishop takes h6, bishop takes f8, bishop takes d3. Did I count that out right? Bishop takes h6, bishop takes d3, bishop takes f8. Whoops. What is this? You take on f8, I take on e2. You take on e2, I take with the rook. It's like a dead equal position. Yeah, what can I do? I'm black. I played my knight h6 opening. I guess equality is all I can ask for. But maybe I should have avoided this simplification still. Trading pieces like a boss has been called. Yeah. But I didn't initiate it. I just want, I mean, you can say I initiated it with bishop f5, but that's a good exchange for me positionally. I'm just trying to trade my bad white squared bishop for his good white squared bishop. I didn't really want him to trade all the pieces off. Now it's dead equal. Although I have a king in the center, which gives me some kind of symbolic advantage. My king is closer to the center. I'm one tempo ahead. f3. f3, knight d7. Should I go d7 or should I go a6? We can always go to c7. Stop me. He's stopping me from invading. Man, this is a little too symmetrical. I think this is going to wrap it up for today. Man, this is pretty drawish. Unfortunately, he's beating me to the punch there. Knight b5, knight d6, guarding my b7 pawn. Damn, dude, after knight d3, we have total symmetry after 18 moves. You gotta play it. Oh, no, it's not. You didn't play g3 yet. Alright, sorry. I'm a tempo up. I have g6. I'm glad it's not a tournament game. I don't really want to exchange rooks. Maybe a5 isn't so bad. Weakens my queen side a little bit. If a5, knight c5, b6, knight d7, that's good for him. I could play knight c4, try to provoke weaknesses. Provoking weaknesses. Trying to win a totally drawn position. Yeah. Knight c4. Alright, we did induce some weaknesses. Now I'm threatening sometimes to play knight b5. If I play b6, that's okay, right? I'm a step ahead of you, Mr. King Chaser. And I've got the bonus move, g6. Uh-oh. This was not really what was expected here. Now we have to break the symmetrical fun. I don't think the e-file matters a whole lot here, to be honest. Knight b5. The e-file not really... Well, it is relevant in that he's cutting my king off. You know, that's true. My friend Zlatko Linčić played the Petrov a lot in first Saturday GM tournaments, and he was like constantly trying to beat people in positions like this. He had a fair amount of success. Those Queen E2 Petrov endings particularly are really pretty funny, you know, to watch people trying to win in those sort of positions. Wow, he was like prepared for a g5. Now c5, we go for it. Fully in playing for a win mode. At least it's not symmetrical anymore. I have no idea who's better, but I feel like black has a little initiative. We've gained better control of the center. Realistically, it still should be a draw, probably. I don't know if c4 is good. I didn't like white playing c4 and fixing my pawn on c5. I wouldn't recommend anyone clicking any links in the chat. If they're posted, I would strongly recommend you caution yourselves before doing that. So knight b5, am I making progress here? Looks like King Chaser is in trouble. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe he's got something. You had a4 there, King Chaser. You missed it. This should be winning for black. So yes, you should always play for a win. That's the moral of the story. Still, it's not over yet. By any means. Yeah, maybe this is holdable for white. I don't know. He's a pawn down in a knight and rook ending. Much more complicated than a pure knight endgame, which would probably be winning for me. Alright, what's next? Lots of possible moves. Wish my pawn was a little further outside the outside passed pawn. Not that easy to win, surprisingly. This is a little awkward. My king doesn't have a good place to go. Wow. That's some good technique there. Damn. How do I get out of the pin? Just a draw. It's still a draw. Now, I don't know. Is this still a draw? I don't think so. King Chaser had the draw if he just doesn't trade rooks. Alright guys, that's it for today. Sorry, Havgard, no time to play. I am going to be back tomorrow night, Thursday night, with a subscriber stream. Good game, King Chaser. Yeah, you deserved a draw there. We're going to be back Thursday night, subscriber stream, game analysis and blitz, 7 p.m. Central European summertime on Thursday. Thanks for joining me, and we will be back then. I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.